Welcome to Make and Decorate, a podcast for makers who love to sew, quilt, and decorate. Hey everyone, hello and Happy New Year. Happy 2019. I hope everyone enjoyed their holidays and had a great start to 2019. When this episode publishes, we will be 10 days into the new year already. You know, this year has been different for me because, as I talked about in previous episodes, after listening to the Dr. Palmer talk about reevaluating what's on your to-do list as far as handmade gifts for the year and everything else that, gets piled onto all of our to-do lists and the frenzy of the holidays, I really evaluated that and removed things, and that allowed me to really enjoy the holidays. And because, so many of us say every year, like, oh my gosh, it goes so fast. I don't even know what just happened. And then we're exhausted. I'm always exhausted. Can't wait for the holidays to be over. And this year wasn't like that. And in fact, I feel like I actually kind of got a little bit more done, if you can believe it, because I was able to do a lot more of a bunch of other types of activities, not just sewing. So I did a little bit of sewing, but I did not make a ton of handmade gifts. I did make a lot of handmade gifts as far as it was a lot easier to make, but it was still homemade and really got great feedback and reactions from the people that I gifted it to. And that was my Madagascar bourbon vanilla extract. I started the brew December 1st, and I really should have started it maybe 1 week before, but it's fine because you should give it like a good 30 days to steep, I guess, and before you want to use it. And some people actually even wait 3 to 6 months before they use it, because the more that it kind of soaks up the vanilla bean goodness, the more robust the flavor is. But really, it is so aromatic that, after 30 days, it's perfect. It's good to use. I mean, I used it. I used it in my holiday baking, my kolaczki cookies, everything, and it was so good. So, yeah, that was a really good gift to make. I'm meaning to post some pictures of like the labels that I made and pictures of the process. So hopefully by the time this publishes, those will be either up on Instagram or on my blog. I haven't decided if I should make it a blog post or not. So anyway, yeah, that was a really good handmade gift that didn't kill me. The other thing that I did is the day after Christmas, I thought, oh, well, I got to get back to work. So I went back up into my sewing studio. I've got this commission quilt that is near finishing the quilt top for, and I was up there working on it for about 45 minutes, and then I just like stopped. I couldn't. I was just like, you know what? I need to give myself permission to really like take a break, because the one thing, especially if you are an entrepreneur and you work out of your home, is getting that balance of working and actually like really getting away from it and taking a break. So I took, 5 days break from sewing and from working, and it was really very, very needed. It's really true. It really, like, you really just need to, how like some people, and you always say, I need to get away. I need a vacation. We really do. We need to get away from the daily grind, the routine, even though we love it. It's still necessary, I think, just for us to recharge our batteries and refresh our minds and our souls. So I'm glad that I recognized that and I didn't force myself to forge ahead. And I took a break, and then I did a different kind of craft. And I did this, during the evening time and the time that we're sitting in front of the TV. And I got my box from Sugar Edu. It came, and I had ordered these little mini rolls of yarn, and I started my amigurumi, my very first one, and it is her Sugar Edu on her blog. You can find it. It's a free pattern, and when she introduced it, she did this. I want to say quilt along, but it's not a quilt. She did a crochet along, a CAL, on Puck the Penguin, and really good YouTube videos to accompany those. I'm telling you, there are the printed instructions on the pattern, but crochet patterns have their own little language, and there's little like shorthand of, it'll say the number 6 SC X INC. So those are 6 single crochets times, increases and all this other stuff. So because she had those videos, it all made sense, and it was really cool. I'm almost done with it. I'm on the very, very last steps. So when I get those done, I'll post pictures of my little penguin. So that was fun. And learning a new craft is a whole different, using a different part of your mind, and your hands are working in a different way. So it's totally different, and it was kind of refreshing. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. What else? Oh, yes. So we did watch a lot of, movies, and, my husband loves the movies and TV and that sort of thing. And there's one that I really want to talk about. And it made a big impression on me, but this is not sewing or making related. So if you want to kind of skip through this part, I totally understand, but because it's sports related. And my husband has this way of getting me like drawn into these sports. It's weird because over the years I'm like, no, I don't want to watch that. The only sport that I had really been interested in and I've stayed with is football, the American NFL football. And, I love my Chicago Bears team, and they're doing great this year. We made the playoffs. Woohoo. By the time this publishes, we will have played our first playoff game. So, oh my gosh, I hope that they won. We'll see. Go Bears. So this Netflix special, there was a documentary, and it's called Sunderland Till I Die. It is so good. So all of you listeners that are in the UK or in countries that your main sport is what I would call soccer, but I know it's called football. So yeah, they're football clubs. This one, it's kind of like if you're in the States and you've seen the HBO series Hard Knocks, this is sort of like a similar format where the documentary goes behind the scenes and they follow the teams, the coaches, their practices, and then their games. So that's what this group did in Sunderland. And Sunderland is on the far northeast side of England, and it's a port town. It looked really beautiful, this town. And the documentary focuses on the team because they had been what they call made redundant, which means they were in the very, very top league called the British Premier League. And I don't want to get too boring with this, but basically they were, if you're in the States, when the professional sports teams, you get the players usually get knocked down. Not the teams, but the players will get knocked down to in baseball, the AAA leagues or something like that. And then hockey has their own little, leagues underneath the National Hockey League. So in the British football, leagues, the actual team can get knocked down. So every year, the bottom 4 teams in this British Premier League go down, and they go down a notch. So that's what happened to this team. And then they go through this other coach, and then they get this new coach. So most of the season is about this new coach, Chris Coleman, and he was fantastic. I mean, the culture of this football team and what it means to the town of Sunderland and the community. And this is not just Sunderland. All of these teams in England, like these towns center around their football team. And let me tell you, if their team is not doing well, you'll know about it. They'll know about it because these fans get brutal. They do not hold back. But at the same time, they're so loyal. They're very loyal to their teams, and they stand behind them as well. I keep saying town, but it's actually a city because I think the population in Sunderland I saw was about 221,000. So it's not like a little town. These are actual cities. And so that's it's not like here in Chicago. We've got 5 major sports teams. We have the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, and the White Sox. But they only have their football team. Each town, for instance, right now Liverpool is number 1 in the British Premier League, so that's their football team. So Sunderland, so many people, this is their lives. This is what they live for. They love it. And it really brings the community together. And the people who work for the team, they even showed the chefs and the cooks that cook the meals for these guys, the groundskeepers. I mean, everybody that takes a part in being part of this team and the pride that they have. So they get this new coach, and he really builds up this whole team, not just the team, but he affects the entire town. He's great. And throughout this documentary, it takes you through the entire 2017 season. You see how this coach makes a huge impact on not only the team and improving them. They start winning. The players really respect him. He's a coach that does not tear them down, and he also he cares. He really shows that he cares about the team, about the community, about the people in the kitchen who are cooking the food. I mean, they just really adore him. I don't want to give any more away because I want you guys to watch this. I mean, hopefully, even if you're not a sports fan, and you don't know anything about British football, it's really a great documentary, and it just is interesting and heartwarming. So I thought it was a great thing to watch for going into the new year. So that was fun. All right. So anyway, I got to get back to making and decorating because this is not a sports podcast. All right. But anyway, UK listeners, let me know, if any of you are in the Sunderland area, or even what your local football team is, and if you are, one of those diehard fans and have season tickets or so forth. Tell me about your team. All right. So I've got a really great episode today, and Jessica, who I spoke with, we talked for an hour and a half. We had just a great conversation, and I debated on whether to just keep it all in one episode. But as I was listening and editing, I decided to do this episode into 2 parts. So this week will be part 1, and don't worry, there's not going to be any cliffhangers. So and then I think I will post it the following week, next week. Usually my main episodes are every other week. So I'm not going to make you wait 2 weeks to get the second half of this podcast. So I will post it the very next Thursday. But my guest is Jessica Pierce, and she is the owner of 5 out of 4 patterns. It is a clothing pattern company, independent, and she's great. She has some great fleece patterns. This is the fleece that my niece and I made, and I posted back in the fall around October time. I also made my husband's birthday pajama pants. That was my very first pattern of Jessica's that I made. It is a free pattern, so I'm going to check out the show notes. I'm going to put all the links to the things that we talk about, including her sewing machines and so forth. There's one part when I was listening and editing that I couldn't believe I told Jessica. When I made my husband's pajama pants, they turned out great. They have side seam pockets and the legs are a little bit tapered. They're just more modern looking. And the previous pattern that I had been making for my husband for the past several years is just outdated. It's like big, baggy legs and patch pockets on the front. So I wanted to update it. And then I told her, my husband's initial reaction was, oh, I don't like these. And then when I was listening to it in editing, I'm like, why did I say that? Because I hope she did not get, I don't think she did, because we, had a great conversation and afterwards. And I did tell her that in the interview that I thought he was crazy. Well, update. Now, my husband wears those pajama pants all the time. He's discovered the side seam pockets, and hello, he loves them. So sometimes, especially guys, are reluctant to change. They like, there's certain things a certain way, but I can honestly say that he loves those pajama pants. So when you hear that part of the podcast, don't get upset with me, because I'm telling you right now, I did feel bad about saying that. Talk about being, too honest. But it was just the truth. I mean, I was just saying his initial reaction. However, that wasn't my reaction. I loved those pajama pants and making that pattern. They are wonderful. Anyway, enough of that. So let's go ahead and get on with this conversation. Part 1 of Jessica Pierce from 5 out of 4 Patterns. Hi, Jessica. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. How are you?
Hello. Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm really excited to talk to you because that's right. Did you hear that?
No.
I have an Echo, or like an Alexa in here. So, and it must have just heard me say something. Whenever you can give it a name, either Alexa or Echo, but if they hear you say their name, it's like they start talking to you. So,
and
anyway.
our baby loves to just be like, ah, bah, bah, bah. But she hears the kids talk to her. So she just shouts at it.
I know, it's just crazy because every once in a while it's like starts talking. I'm like, we didn't ask you for anything. Go back to sleep.
Right.
So anyway, all right. So, but I was saying that I found you recently, like it was around Labor Day, because my husband's birthday is right around Labor Day, and he requested another pair of pajama pants, and there was a pattern that I had been making. I've made him like 4 from this other pattern. It's okay, but the pattern is just so baggy and wide, and I'm like, I want to get a little bit more something up to date. So I was like searching all over the web, like looking like everywhere, the big 4s, the Berta, everything. And then I happened upon your website for these pajama patterns. And then I didn't even know that they were free. So I'm like putting it into the cart, and I'm looking through your website, and you have this is the other thing, so many photographs of your patterns done in so many different ways. It was really cool. So I put it in the cart, and then I, checked out, and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about, 0?
Yeah, at first there was a coupon code and all that, and finally I was like, we just need it to be free. And it probably, I mean, you can't call it really the highest seller, but it really, it has helped people find us, which brings me so much joy.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good entry because if you're not familiar with someone and their company and their patterns, it's just a really good, like, okay, there's no like risk here.
Well, and now we've offered, so we have the ninja leggings, which is also free.
Oh.
And that is a code from our Facebook group. And then we also have 2 circle skirts for women and kids. And in fact, we need to update the kids circle skirt to include baby sizes now, because we've just expanded all the way down, and it's super cute. Now that my kids are no longer in baby sizes, I decided to do baby sizes. I don't know what kind of logic that is, but anyway.
Funny. That is so cool. Yeah.
So we have all of those, and the codes for those are in the pinned post in the Facebook group.
Okay.
And we're actually working on another one. I don't know if I would get it out by Christmas, but hopefully, like probably, I would say definitely by our birthday celebration. We turn 4 in January, right around Martin Luther King.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's always we always try and do something super huge and super fun and, make it social.
Yeah. That's really nice. And but yeah, it's just a really good way to just get introduced to your style and your instruction, and all of that. So and I made them. They were really quick and easy, and I loved the way they turned out. I posted them on my Instagram, and they were great. And my husband's like, I like the other ones better because these are too, taper. He likes all the big room or whatever. And I'm like, you're crazy. But anyway, they were really good. And then my 10-year-old niece, I've been teaching her how to sew, and we made I think it's called the K2 fleece. Is that what it's called?
That's the kids' fleece. Yes, that pullover.
Yeah, she came over for a weekend, and we started sewing it. And I did have a little trouble with the zipper because I hadn't done that in a while. And just the part that, because I'm wearing a fleece now, but this part of the collar, and it folds over, and I don't know, but I got it. I finally did it, and we finished it, and it's beautiful, and she loves it. She's wearing it all the time, and she sewed the 2 front pieces together, the contrast to the mane, the curve. She does really good on curves. So yeah, she had a part in making that for herself.
See, I love that because I always overhear parents or whomever's teaching, if you're in a Joann's or somewhere and you hear, I'm teaching so-and-so to sew, and it's a young child, and they're like, we're going to start with a tote bag or an apron, and you can see the kid just like, and I feel like whispering, like, what do you want to make? Because I'm that kid who would have been like, I want to make a fleece pullover because that's what I wear 90% of the winter.
Right. Yeah.
I will say for that collar, I have one product. They're not going to name it after me because it's already got a name, but it's the Wash Away Wonder Tape.
Oh yeah, I have it. I use it.
Oh my gosh, I use that thing I use it for everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, because I use it a lot in bag making for the zippers and the bag making. It's great. I love it too.
I love making bags. I don't even carry a bag, and I love making bags.
They're fun. I do too. So so that was my introduction, and I've just been enamored ever since. I've spent hours looking through all your patterns on your website and looking through all the pictures, and I look through all of the. What I also love is that you make the patterns just open for all these extra ways that people can customize it for themselves, and you include some of those in your patterns too, like different necklines and
we do try. It's hard. That's a really tricky balance that we try really hard to hit, because if you include too many, certain views won't be seen, or people will get confused about which pattern it is. And if you include too few, I feel a little bored, honestly, because then I'm doing the exact same silhouette with a beat and the exact same, and it's like, but at the same time, because I like these challenging patterns, I have to have patterns that bring people in who are new. So, and I don't want to scare them. I want them to come over and experience us and feel comfortable asking questions. Cause the ladies that work with me, we really, we don't always succeed, but we really try hard to have a very strong, welcoming community. Mm-hmm. And we want you to ask questions. I really want beginners in my testing groups when I'm looking for extra testers, because it helps keep me, focused on whom I'm trying to reach. And it helps keep me just sort of true to getting as many people sewing their own clothes as possible. Mm-hmm. And so even tonight, I was standing in Joann, and a woman was telling me about this project, because I like to talk to strangers. And she had never sewn more than an apron. And she told me the company that she'd found, and I was like, how'd you find that company? So I was doing a little bit of market research. And I ended up like, here's my phone number. And I do this for twin moms too, because I have twins, and a lot of times you meet twin moms and it's like the deer in headlights, and I just show them a picture of my twins, and I'm like, look, they're 6. I'll be your unicorn. You will survive. Like, you can text me at any time of night or day and ask me questions. I don't get, not a lot of people take me up on this, but this woman in Joann tonight, I think it's because I come off a little, like, it's a little weird for somebody to be like, here's my phone number,
right.
But she really wanted to make a nightgown for her kids. And I didn't even care that it wasn't my pattern. I had never sewn this particular pattern, but we were talking about putting fabrics together. And I don't have a lot of local friends who sew. And I loved it. I was like, hey, if you drink wine, I will bring you some wine. We will sit around and we'll talk sewing. We might not get anything done, and it really rekindled that sort of need for community. Like, I think that would just be amazing.
Yeah, I love that, because it's just I find myself doing the same when I'm in a store, kind of like Joann's, and some of the people like at the cutting counter will ask like, oh, what are you making with this or whatever, and sometimes I'll overhear and I just can't help myself, and I'm just like, well, that's so cool, you could do that.
Yep.
But I live in like such an urban area where we don't do that. So it's not like, you'll get a look like, why are you butting in, and who are you? And,
See, I'm in the South. We're like, hey.
Right. And then I lived on the East Coast for a year in Maryland, and they're very friendly. I mean, there are greeters at all the stores, and people will talk to anybody. But then you come back to Chicago, and they're just like, what do you want? I don't want to buy anything. And what are you trying to sell me? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of like leeriness, but but once in a while, in the fabric store, then you start to get someone talking, and then they'll just totally open up. But it's just getting through that little barrier at first. But I love that, because I feel like people are intimidated by sewing and are afraid to ask. And I love that now I'm a part of several Facebook groups. I joined yours, and when I did my first post, everyone was so very friendly. I think I did ask a question, and I got really good answers. And so, and the same thing, I'm a part of this So Sweet in His Bag sewing group too. And that's a really good group as well. Just very positive, and people help people. And there's so many new sewers coming in. It's amazing.
We really like the Curvy Sewing Collective. I don't know.
I'm on their email list.
Their Facebook group.
I'm not in that.
It's amazing to me how supportive and helpful, because people I know that everybody wants to pull it right out of the printer, tape it together, cut it out, and have it fit perfectly the first time. That would be my own version of heaven, I think, where, but unfortunately I have broad shoulders and very long arms, and I just have, and I'm 5'9", so I have things that I have to do. Plus I just have general issues that I like things a certain way, whether it's sewn down. I don't know. I have issues. But I like that. I like it when people are sewing and they put it on and they're like, well, I'm really proud of myself for making this, but what is this? And I don't want to get too focused on all the wrinkles, because you move and you're going to have wrinkles. But just asking the question, like, how can I make this fit me even better? Mm-hmm. And I love helpful groups. I read a lot. I don't like to get suckered into drama. I try and stay very far away from any drama, so I stay out of those groups. But a group where they are genuinely interested in helping you grow and helping you challenge yourself just brings me tremendous joy. Like I love it.
That's really good, and I'm sure that it trickles down into your group because you foster that, which is great. And so we just kind of like jumped into your patterns right away, but I kind of wanted to find a little bit more about your background and like, have you been sewing forever since you were a kid? Did you go to school for pattern making design, or what?
This might be where people are like, hold the phone, what? So I did not go to school for this. I have an undergraduate in history of technology.
Wow.
And I have a graduate degree in science, technology, and public policy.
Whoa.
Where I focused on space policy and security policy issues. So my pre-child life was very, very different. Yeah, you joke about Maryland. I used to live in Washington, D.C., or in Northern Virginia. And we would joke that, like, everybody was super friendly until you asked them what they did for a living. And then it was like,
yeah.
So that was my pre-child life. Not at all sewing related. My mother sews and sewed a lot of my clothes growing up. It was kind of fun. We still have a couple of them, and we like to put them on the kids, and they go to school in these, very frilly dresses and whatnot. I mean, it's just the best. And like the Peter Pan collars, like,
oh, yeah.
It's just beautiful. We don't have a lot, but we have a few. And then we moved from DC to the Atlanta area right when I think the twins were born within a month of us moving here.
Wow.
And we moved because the twins were babies 4 and 5. So that's kind of where the name came. That is exactly where the name came from. We had 5 kids out of 4 pregnancies. And my husband came up with that because I was really struggling with the name. I'm creative in a lot of ways, but that was really hard for me. So we moved 600 miles. I knew nobody outside of my parents and in-laws, who are all lovely people. And all of a sudden I had newborn twins and 3 kids who were 6 and under. My oldest turned 6 while I was a couple days after I gave birth to the twins. And so I had been sewing, for before that, but then all of a sudden from 6 to midnight every day I was at my sewing machine. And it was just it was almost like meditating or praying or however you want to look at it, whatever is your particular walk. But for me, like, I needed quiet and I needed solitude to just be with my thoughts and organize my day and make sure all the kids were fed. They weren't always bathed, but fed, Mm-hmm. And I did. I mean, I would say every day. I mean, it was amazing. I did not get the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, but I definitely sewed a lot. And then I started, my grandmother, who's since passed away, was on Facebook before I was. I was not into Facebook. My parents were on Facebook. Even my husband, who has zero interest in Facebook, was on Facebook before me. And finally, like, I got on, and then I found the sewing groups, which I tell people when I meet them at Joann, if they're new, I tell them about that, because that to me is just the most amazing part of social media. Mm-hmm. Because I think that new moms, obviously I wasn't a new mom, but in a lot of ways I was, because I was completely isolated, are lonely. And I think that, we think, okay, we got to be with our kid. And I know that not everybody who sews is a new mom. I'm not trying to say that, but like, I think a lot of times we're isolated for X, Y, and Z reasons. And now Facebook has provided, you have the side where everybody posts their political whatever, and like, all your friends from high school, and you're like, whoa, you're still going to football games. Okay. And, whatever. But to have this whole crafting community, I love it. Yeah. You can find vinyl, and you can find sewing and crocheting and knitting. Everything, painting furniture. I'm in a group for that. I've never even painted a piece of furniture. I dream about it. Mm-hmm. And so I started getting into the sewing groups, and I found Green Style Creations. And Angie really, she helped me become a tester and helped me understand what was needed. And I liked her style because she's, sporty, way sportier than I am, but athletically minded. And I started testing for her, and I was breastfeeding twins because that was my particular passion. And I wanted to do a breastfeeding pattern. And so I went to Angie and we started talking about it. And she really she really helped set me up. I'll be honest. I mean, if it were not for her, it would have been a much longer road. I would have gotten there because I definitely had the gumption. Mm-hmm. But I remember I went to my husband because I was testing for a lot of companies. And I loved it. Every time I tested a pattern, I learned something new. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I was testing, we are a very laid-back family. We do not get dressed up very often. And at one point, I tested, this faux fur coat thing for children, which, I mean, that thing would be covered in juice within an hour at my house. It's just completely ridiculous. But I went to my husband, and I'm like, I really like this. And I think I want to try it. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I had always liked this logical puzzle side of things. And actually, before I was a history major, I started in architecture. I didn't last very long because I love the logic puzzles behind architecture and flow of traffic and stuff like that. But my classmates were writing poetry about architecture. I watched those shows on Netflix. I'm not really, I wasn't that in love with it. And so I valued sleep. So I switched to history. But anyway, I love figuring out how things are made. And that's why I have the fleece patterns, because I wanted to know how they were constructed. Mm-hmm. And I mean, a lot of times that's what drove me. The vest, my husband and I both wear a lot of fleece vests. We wear a lot of fleece, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I just really loved the challenge of figuring out how they were constructed. And so I started digging in, and he goes, okay, what do you need to do it? And I said, I think I need to buy Adobe or something. And so I started digging into that. And I taught myself Illustrator and InDesign and learned how to do it all. And then last year, Rochelle Summers, who's a designer for 5 out of 4, we started talking, and we decided to invest in a CAD program and taught ourselves that and taught ourselves coordinate grading. And I love it. I mean, I love having the academic side of things. I love having a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so that's the short history, I guess. Maybe that was more than you were looking for. I don't know.
That's amazing because you just started that when you said you had your twins? Mm-hmm. And how old are they now? 6?
That was when I started sewing. That was when I started deciding to get into designing.
Oh.
So the twins just turned 6 in September. And so that's when I had been sewing for years before that.
Oh, okay.
My 10-year-old who is a gymnast. And when she started gymnastics, I was like, I'm going to make my own leotards. And of course I went to Joann and bought because I had started with woven. I'd done a lot of quilts and stuff like that. But I went to Joann and bought I don't even know how to pronounce it, lame, or I don't even know what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's not leotard fabric.
No, it's woven.
It's very shiny. Well, I know, it was stretchy.
Oh, it was stretchy. So it was a lycra type?
The foil, definitely flaked.
Yeah, okay.
Enough sweat was in that. We just have these pictures of her with the diapers and potbelly, and I'm trying to get this leotard on her because you're just figuring stuff out. And I have to mess up probably 100 times to figure it out. And then I love the math behind everything. My kids love to say, when am I going to use this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, hold the phone. I use algebra every day. And then they just roll their eyes.
They roll their eyes, yeah. That's so cool. When you first started to say I have this technical education background, I'm thinking that's why you excel at the pattern design because there is math involved and the grading and all of that. Mm-hmm. So it's just fascinating. And another thing I've noticed is that you just, in a lot of entrepreneurs that just go out there with just nothing. You just do it. You're just I'll figure it out. I'll see what happens, and you make something 100 times and you don't get discouraged. I think that's a really important thing to share because I'm one of those other types of people, and I did study interior design in architecture, so it's a little bit more perfectionist, thing.
And those are tendencies I struggle with.
And and I tend to be a perfectionist a lot. And sewing over the years has taught me to don't to ease up on my perfectionist thing, because then you don't, first of all, I don't get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to get something done to the nth degree instead of just like, throw caution to the wind and try it, because that's how, if I look back and think about like stuff that I've learned over the years, it's just when you actually are doing it and when you're actually hands-on and you're making something, and even if you're messing up, you're doing it again and again, you really learn. So I love your story. I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah. Well, a book that really spoke to me was Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist.
Yeah,
I really like to read. I read a lot. And I remember reading that book, like he said, at first it's going to come easy to you, and then you're going to hit this plateau, and you have to decide, like, are you going to keep struggling and keep fighting to get to the next? And for sewing, like, I was an athlete growing up. I used to coach high school basketball. Like, I've done a lot, and I have a lot of things that I enjoy doing, like crocheting, and actually I did cover a piece of furniture. I haven't painted anything, but I reupholstered a chair.
Cool.
And I enjoy baking. Like, I have all these things that I enjoyed baking and all the stuff that I enjoyed doing, but I am passionate. Like, it took me a long time to find something that I was truly passionate about. And that is by far, all my degrees aside, I did not love working. I did not love what I was doing. I loved learning what I was learning, and I got to do some really cool stuff, but I was not passionate about my job. And part of that might be my personality. I really, really like working for myself.
Me too. Ding, ding, ding. Yay.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow. So you have 5 kids total?
I actually have 6.
I thought you had somewhere. I saw
right.
You had 6.
So when the twins were born, we were like, whoa, this is crazy. My poor husband's one of 2. Nobody saw it coming. I'm the youngest of 4, so it's totally my fault. That's how I got into trouble. And we had our 3rd, and he's like by far our happiest kid. He's so much fun. We called him Mr. Happy. And my husband's like, this is great. We got our family. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, you stop at 3, you miss out on me. And he's like, well, you're insane, but okay. And then it ended up being twins, and both of us, and the whole twin was such a joke, because we walked into this office, and of course they make you have ultrasound super early now. And I had, there was a new doctor in the practice who I hadn't met before, and I love to joke around. I love to make a jerk of myself and like just try and get people to laugh. And I tend to say like, oh, you're my people, you laugh at my jokes, and it's kind of bad. But anyway, I patted her on the leg before we started the ultrasound. I was like, hey, just don't tell us it's twins. And my husband's eyes got super big, and he's like, why would you say that's not even funny? And sure enough, she goes, healthy heartbeat, healthy baby. And I like look over away from her at my husband. I'm like, oh, and I'm all fecluded. I'm like, this is the best. Our family's ready. We've got 4. And she goes, and a healthy baby, healthy heartbeat. And wow, it was like my whole like, it was just, I thought my husband was going to pass out. I might have dropped a few choice words you don't say in public all the time. And yeah, I made her check a couple times.
Talk about your joke backfiring.
I know. He looked at me. He's like,
you jinxed it.
Who does that, right? It was just ridiculous.
Oh, man.
But,
awesome.
So we had the 5, and then I have one son. And, again, he's so happy. And I always imagine myself with 4 boys. I know how babies are made. I know you can't control this. But, like, I just did. I thought I was going to have 4 boys. And, he's like, come on, I need a brother. And like, I don't know, we were out of the dark ages with the twins. Like, they were finally sleeping and, going to the bathroom by themselves. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, yeah, let's do this. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. No. Okay. And so Stella is our youngest. She is 18 months old, and she is absolutely wild, but she's completely doted upon. She keeps all of us laughing, and she's completely wild, but super fun.
So your oldest is a girl and your youngest is a girl, and the in-betweens are all boys?
No. So I have 5 girls and 1 boy.
Oh, 5 girls and 1 boy.
Right. So I have 12, 10, both girls, 8-year-old boy, 6-year-old twin girls, and then Stella is
Oh, okay. All right.
also a girl. Yeah. So we tried for him to have a brother.
For him. Oh, wow.
He's still hoping we try again, but the dishes are done. That's not happening.
Well, I'm the oldest of 6.
See?
So I know what it's like to grow up with a lot of siblings.
I should put you in touch with my daughter because she would appreciate that perspective.
Yes, it's definitely a different perspective. I mean, it's funny even today because we're all adults, and it reverts to that I'm in charge. I'm the oldest, or they all still just like rely upon me to just
I think
everything.
birth order is really fascinating. Mm-hmm. I think that definitely happens, and I end up playing this role. I'm sure my family's going to listen to this, but I don't want to say because they're going to be like, mm-hmm. But I'm the youngest, and what I remember of my childhood is we had fun. And I mean, still we get together and we start quoting movies and laughing and picking on my mom and all laughing some more. And we just have the best time. It is like Insta party. You just add water and we're there. And I love it. And, I'm really hoping that that's what we can create with my little tribe over here, mm-hmm. But, they fight a lot. And so when we have fun, we really have fun. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. And they're definitely, I just hope that when they're grown, they can still, see the high points in each other. High five.
They will. They're just close in age right now, I think, because I remember, for me being the oldest, there was a lot of years between me. There was 5 years between me and the next oldest. And there was me and then 3 boys. So that worked fine. But girls are different and they fight. So my youngest sisters are, I think they're about 5 years apart, but man, when they got into high school years, they were fighting like cats and dogs. I was I couldn't even stand to be in a room with them.
Yeah. We spend an inordinate amount of time talking about respecting each other for your differences, and your strengths are different. I thought that when they decided to do different sports that we would be fine. Oh, no. It is they could compete over how they brush their teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, they compete over everything. And I know that my sister and oldest brother are laughing right now because I, as a kid, was crazy competitive. I think I grew out of it in my mid-20s. I'm sure all of them are cackling in the background no. And so I see my kids, we can say, oh, I'm going to get the mail. I'm going to get it first. I mean, and they will tackle each other into the road to get it. I mean, it's just,
man. That's hilarious.
It's just they don't feel that way about cleaning, though. I will say that.
Oh, yeah, of course. No. But so you have a full house and you're doing this business, and it's a real business. You have lots going on. You're designing, and you're selling. You have a YouTube channel. Another person, Laura is her name. She does those videos. So is that a contracted employee of yours, or do you have employees, or are you still a one person company?
I am not, thank goodness, because I would have been I would have been insane a long time ago. So I have Rochelle Summers is designing patterns for 5 out of 4, and then Tasha Gray and Laura O'Neill. Tasha has been doing a lot of stuff in the background, just helping out in the testing group, stuff like that. And then she also has started learning the grading and getting more into that. And she's actually working on her first patterns. We're hoping to come out with those probably the first of the year, I think. And I'm super excited about that because I had somebody, I think that anytime you want to get into a new area, I'm sure you ran into this with the podcast too, learning the ropes of how to get into it can be daunting. Mm-hmm. And I was very fortunate to have somebody show me the ropes and help me and answer my questions, because I had a lot of idiotic ones, I feel sure, especially when learning the new CAD program. I mean, oh my gosh, that was just a whole different way of thinking of things. Mm-hmm. And I'm Tasha was pattern testing for a lot of people. She would review patterns for Pattern Revolution, and she's just great. And she also has twins. And she started testing for me, and she was just such a joy that like I was lucky enough to get her to come over as an admin, and really like we have this group chat that we just have a blast. Like I have never met any of them in real life, and so we're hoping to change that. We would really, it's hard. We're all so introverted, and so what we really need is the social planner. But we would really like to have some sort of sewing retreat, or a little less stressful, I think, would be like, hey, come and sew with us at this location.
Right. Yeah.
But, we see these things happening. And so that's definitely on my horizon of like wish list things I would like to accomplish. Because I think it would just be a blast to, be at the lake or be wherever and get to sew, whether it's teaching people how to do one of my patterns or showing them how to do vinyl, because we love to put vinyl on things. My kids love it too. But so Tasha came over, and then she decided that she was interested in designing patterns. And so Rochelle and I have been helping her learn that, and she's awesome. And then Laura has been really, I think she's been with me since I don't know if she tested my first pattern, but she definitely tested my second one. And then for my most popular pattern, the agility, that pattern was a labor of love, because it probably, like, it's easy for me to test it on my body size because I'm standing right here, and I was nursing at the time. And so that was even easier for me to figure out how I wanted the nursing option to go. But I love having women of all different shapes and sizes and all different backgrounds around me, because I can figure out things that they need and things that they like to do and stuff like that. And Laura, man, she was just always willing to help. And so finally I was like, can I pay you for this? Because I needed a wing person. I don't like saying man, but like, and she is really like, this feels a little Ready Player One, but like, she's like my best friend on the internet. I hope that we get along in real life, but like, I'm gonna be really nervous to meet her. But everything, family, like she is my sanity checker most days. I remember I like to talk on the phone. What I've realized recently actually is that I like to actually talk on the phone or video call, because I think it's important. I think a lot is missed in facial expressions and personality.
Right.
And so I like to call her early in the morning. I don't think she enjoys it, but it cracks me up. It entertains. And everybody always thinks you're accidentally butt dialing them when you do it the first time.
Yeah.
The first time I called Tasha, it was just this, hello. So we have a blast. Laura is amazing at those tutorial videos.
Yeah.
I think that I tried one, and a couple other women that had, tested patterns for me had done a couple, but hers are so professional looking. It would take me another year to learn how to do all the stuff she already knows how to do. And so she has sort of been the face of 5 out of 4. And then I started talking about the live videos, and I was like, look, I want to get my face out there. Like, this is a growth, something I need to do to kind of grow personally, because I had become, I am very introverted. And, I just wanted people to know, like, if you happen to live in my area and see me, like, I want to know you, because I have so few sewing friends. I would love to have, instead of a book club, although I will read the book, come over and sew with me. Like, I would just love it. I was going somewhere with that. I totally lost my train of thought.
Laura, well, like just meeting or...
Oh, the live videos.
Live videos.
Like, I brought it up. I was like, hey, I would really like to do this, but I'm not sure what the value added is going to be. And she's like, Jess, you got to get your face out there and your personality, because like, she really helped my confidence. I don't really lack in confidence. I'll be honest. That's not the particular issue I face, but she really pushed me to grow in that aspect, because I become a total goofball in front of the camera. And so I used to teach at a local university here, and I loved being in front of the class because I could gauge people's reactions, and if they had their arms crossed, or they weren't even listening to my jokes, or if they were really sucked in about space policy, because that's what I taught, and they were, just on board with me about talking about Mars or whatever. I loved it. and then all of a sudden I moved to online teaching because it was just too hard to get out of the house with the kids at night. I was teaching night classes, and I lost all my love for it. It was just so painful because I didn't even get to do videos. I was just strictly doing like online chats type thing and grading a lot of papers, and it just yeah. And so I miss having the reactions. And so again, like if I had, things to shoot for in the future, it would be like conferences where we can go and meet people. I might be the wallflower and then be like, actually my friend, Sarah Unthinka with Pattern Revolution, she's going to be my wing person because she's really social. But I mean, I have met her. She came down and I tried to say no. And she's like, no, come on. So she got me out of my shell.
Yeah. I think in the creative world, just introverted is like our common tie that binds us. Most of us are I know I am. And I'm just happy to stay in my cocoon of my sewing room at home. And it takes a lot to get me out.
Especially at night, right?
Yes.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's cold outside and it's dark and I'm cozy.
Yeah. So, and for sure. But, you have something there with that in-person thing because I did attend a retreat. It was local to me. So, which is why I could go. And I just got up and drove every morning. It was 2 days and each day was a full class and it was for bag making. So it was Sarah Lawson's So Sweetness retreat. But it's funny because you get, Sarah is, herself says she's introverted and doesn't also have, we all say we don't have any friends, but we have so many online friends.
Right.
But she didn't believe me. She's like, you did not seem like you were introverted at all. But I'm like, what? Because you saw me with like-minded people. If I was in a room with, a whole different crowd or group, then I wouldn't be, I would be like drawn into my shell and not really like outgoing.
Well, I'm really good at being like, I talked to the woman at Joanne Fabrics tonight. Like I'm good at talking to strangers, but I don't want to talk about what's on TV because I probably haven't seen it. And I don't want to talk about my kids' activities because they can do them, not do them, but like, and it's funny. I love so I have a gymnast. She's pretty good at gymnastics. And so we travel with her. And before the moms would get to know me, they're like talking and they're like, oh, hey, my name's Jessica, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm a sewing pattern designer. And I always get the like once over, like they're looking me up and down. And I'm like, look, I know I'm a lazy dresser, but I have 6 kids and like, I'm lucky I got pants on today. But I mean, so I am good at being social in certain situations, but I definitely crave like solitude, and that is 100% where I get my energy. And I think too, like,
me too,
we do want like-minded because there's so much to divide us right now that to find a common factor, like, and not worry about anything else that's going on and just talk about fabric and, whatever things that really like get us going. And I think that all, I don't even think it's a gender thing. I think that all people crave connection and community. And I think that with the push of telephone or texting and cell phones and Facebook, I think we're all lonely. I would even hesitate. I have friends, but because of my kids' activities and their schedules and their ages are so broad, and there's so many of us, plus we are largely gluten-free because we have a celiac. And so we don't get invited to a lot of dinners. That's not a woe it's me concept, but it's just a lot. Like if you're inviting the Pierce clan, like you got to be prepared. And so we have friends, but unless what I've noticed over the years is unless I see those people organically because of a kid's activity, I have to work 10 times harder, and it's difficult to maintain those connections.
It is. It really is. And then after that retreat, then I just was exhausted because it's so unnatural to me to be so like, just out there and talking so much and everything. And then I had to like, recharge and be like alone for a week.
And I worry about that because if I go out of town and I come back, we joke that payback is a real piece of work because kids are like, play with me. You got to pay attention to me. And I'm like, I just need to be alone.
Right. Yeah, you got to recharge. Okay, so this will conclude the part 1 of 2 parts of my conversation with Jessica Pierce from 5 out of 4 Patterns. I hope that you have enjoyed our conversation so far and are going to check out her website. And even if you're not normally a clothing maker, she's got some really those fleece patterns. You don't have to worry about any linings, facings really, and you can make something fairly quickly from one of her fleece patterns. And those pajama pants can definitely be made in an afternoon. So take a look at that and check it out. I'll be back next week with part 2, the conclusion of our conversation. So please remember to subscribe and please rate and review the podcast and share it. I really thank you all for listening. I really enjoy making this podcast, and I just want to let you know that I did add a donation button on my podcast show notes page. It's on the right side. It's a purple button, and if you're feeling so inclined, anything that you would be willing to donate, a one-time donation, would really help the podcast immensely. Just want to toss that out there because I really gotta, in order to keep doing this podcast, it costs money to make it, and I've gotta keep it going. So anyway, I will talk to you next time. Bye.